Hello, my Jicklets. Thank you for stopping by. Today we will be reading day 22 in our Soulmate September series, where when you close your eyes, you can see what your soulmate sees. This one is a little heavier and does come with a content warning, so please make sure to check on that in the description. Without further ado, let's read Safe. Virgil was 5 years old when he first saw it happen. He'd closed his eyes to lay down for a nap when he saw a man he didn't know dragging him up the stairs. He wasn't sure it was really him, but it felt like it was. Virgil immediately opened his eyes, crying out for his mom to help him. She came barreling down the stairs, and he was safe. He knew he was, but he didn't feel safe. That day he cried into his mother's arms as he tried not to close his eyes and see the scary man again. It wasn't long after that incident that his mother and dad sat him down and explained what soulmates were and how it worked. Virgil cried again because the person who was one day going to be his best friend wasn't safe. His parents tried to reassure him that things would be okay, but there was a tenseness in the air. They all knew that it was very possible that things wouldn't be okay. They began preparing Virgil for the worst-case scenarios, but that was a lot for a 5-year-old to handle. Virgil grew up seeing the abuse of his soulmate on an almost daily basis. It was hard to watch, and it grew harder and harder each day that he couldn't do something to help him. Virgil had learned his soulmate's name from watching it being written on tests in adorably soft handwriting. It matched well with the soft, kind smile that Virgil saw Patton practice in mirrors. Virgil both loved and hated mirrors. When Patton was in front of a mirror, Virgil got to see his soft smile, dimples, and curly blonde hair. But he also saw all of the bruises and marks that were normally hidden under long-sleeve polos. It wasn't until high school when something finally changed. Most people didn't really try to befriend Virgil. He was the strange loner kid who almost always had his eyes closed. But he had found friendship in one of his classmates named Logan. Logan didn't mind that Virgil always had his eyes closed and never asked. They found topics to talk about, and Virgil found that Logan was a relaxing presence. He was logical and inventive, and easy to rile up. Logan was solid ground when Virgil started to panic over Patton's safety, and Logan was also the one who came up with the plan. Record everything. Virgil's parents knew about the issues their son was facing, but they didn't know how to help. There were strict social rules about contacting your soulmate before it was time for you to meet, and his parents were firm believers in that. Logan didn't feel bound by such rules. He told Virgil to record everything. What school did Patton go to? What did the area around his house look like? And what was the house number if it was possible to figure that out? It took less than a week for Virgil to collect everything, and Logan took all of the information to his parents. That night was one of the hardest for Virgil. He didn't know what was going to happen or if this would help, but after years of watching teachers ignore the signs from Patton, watching the people that Patton called friends not reach out for help, Virgil wasn't sure that it would help. He was never happier to be wrong. Logan's mother was a lawyer, and apparently soulmate vision could be used in a court of law. Society was built on the idea that your soulmate was perfect for you and you wouldn't betray them. Logan had expressed his doubt on perfect soulmates, but he had reassured Virgil that with his testimony, they could rescue Patton. It happened so quickly. Before the middle of the semester, Virgil was seeing Patton for the first time, looking at him face to face. Patton's parents had been found guilty of child abuse. Patton was removed from their custody, and Virgil's parents were asked if they wanted to take custody of Patton. Apparently, that was a common occurrence in cases like these. Since Virgil's parents were expected to become Patton's in-laws eventually, the courts assumed they would be the next best fit. Virgil couldn't be upset. Patton was with him. Patton was safe. The car ride back to their house was awkward. Patton answered every question with sir or ma'am, despite Virgil's parents saying it was okay not to. Patton couldn't seem to help it, and Virgil knew exactly why. It made him want to reach out and take Patton's hand, to hold it tightly. But he didn't want to scare him. He was afraid of hurting Patton. "All right, boys, time to go inside. Patton, are you okay sleeping in Virgil's room for now?" "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." He smiled that bright smile that Virgil both loved and hated. It was a beautiful smile, but it was also a defense. As the two parents walked away, Virgil turned to look at Patton. Hey, he wanted to ask. Was it rude to ask? He didn't want Patton to be in any further pain. Yeah? Virgil rubbed the back of his head. Can I hug you? Of course you can, kiddo. Virgil pulled at the sleeves of his hoodie, ignoring the kiddo comment. He was anxious. What if this all went wrong? Carefully, he wrapped his arms around Patton, avoiding the still healing bruises. I'm sorry I couldn't save you sooner. His voice shook, but he was resolved to stay strong, especially since he could feel the shaking and slow crumble of Patton's walls beneath him. I'm just glad you came. Patton hugged back tightly, and Virgil almost felt a wince. I was happy to just watch you when I could. I never thought I would get to have this life with you. Virgil began to carefully rub his back. You're safe with me, and we'll make a great life together. Patton began to cry, and all Virgil could do was continue to hold him. He would make sure that Patton had happiness for the rest of his life, and he would make sure that Patton was always safe. Thank you for listening. Again, this story was Safe, day 21 in our Soulmate September series. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.